I'm Daniel Rowe, and this is my 1965 Beechcraft C33 Debonair.
The Beechcraft Debonair is a stepping stone between the V-tail Bonanza and the conventional tail Bonanzas. The Debonair was officially manufactured from 1959 to 1967 when the Debonair name was dropped and it was simply called the Bonanza. And its current iteration is still made today, although the V-tail Bonanza stopped production in 1982. In this video, we're going to meet Daniel, learn more about his Debonair, and then take it for a flight. We experienced some pretty strong crosswinds on landing with gusts up to 35 knots. So be sure to watch the end of the video for footage of that. Thank you to our patrons for making this channel possible. You can become a patron for as little as $1.
I am a private pilot, instrument rated, have about 1,400 hours. I've been flying since 2008. But as a pilot myself, but aviation goes way back in my family. My grandpa was a bomber pilot in World War II. He flew over Italy, and he was proud of the fact that he flew the maximum number of missions without ever losing a guy. And he would tell stories of flying through flak and having engines out, and it must have been a harrowing experience, and I think that's what inspired my dad to start flying. So he bought a Cessna 150 kind of on a whim back in the 80s. I was a real little kid, and he learned how to fly it. And so my first memories are really being strapped down with a cargo net in the back of a Cessna 150 as my dad and then my mom took lessons in the thing. And it's a funny story. My mom, before she was even a pilot, she was still a student pilot, her engine quit. She landed in a cornfield. I mean, everything's safe, it was fine. Dented the wingtip, I think, and maybe the main gear, but it wasn't a big deal. We joked that the most expensive part of it was the corn the farmer made her pay for. But anyway, so she got her license and she flew it. And my dad was flying from Boston to Rochester, where I grew up, and he was, and the air traffic controllers, he could hear them laughing at him because his ground speed was like 20 miles an hour, and the cars on the side streets were passing him. And he said he couldn't have any more of that. So he went and he bought this. It was 1965 Beechcraft Debonair. So as you know, it's like a Bonanza, but a little bit different. So the Bonanza started in 1947. They were designed during World War II. They had the distinctive V-tail, 4 seats. Started out with around 185 horsepower. And they made those all the way up until the mid-80s, gradually increasing the horsepower. But in 1960, they decided to make a straight-tail version of it, and they called it the Debonair. And so that's this airplane, the 1965 Beechcraft Debonair. It's a C33 as opposed to a V-tail 35. And in like 1968 or somewhere around there, they stretched it. They put another row of seats in, so 6 seats total, and called it the A36, and put a really big back door on the side. And they made that, they still make that today actually. It has an IO 470K, it's 225 horsepower. It burns auto gas, it's rated all the way down to 87 octane, which is nice if you can find it without ethanol. None of that around here. Oh, ethanol, it's an alcohol, and it destroys all the fuel bladder and all the O-rings and seals that go into the engine. There are stories of the fuel selector valve and a few of the components failing and clogging up or leaking all over the place when you've got ethanol in the gas. So that's no good. So if I want to get somewhere, I can cruise at about 160 knots, maybe a little bit faster, and at 14 gallons per hour. What I usually fly at is about 155 knots at 13 gallons an hour, 13.2. If I want to really lean it back, I get about 9 gallons an hour and 120 knots. So it's got a good range. It's more efficient than a 172, obviously, but I've got a lot more throttle that I can keep going faster if I wanted to. My dad, like I said, he bought this in the early 90s, and he did a lot of work to it. He put this paint job on it, and it was a monster of a plane compared to a Cessna 150, and we grew up just in awe of Beechcraft and the Bonanza and the Debonair. But my brother, he got sick of leukemia a few years later, and So the airplane went to the wayside for a few years, and a few years turned into a lot more years. And the airplane sat out in a field. Rats were making nests in the wings, and bees had made nests in all the instruments. The engine cylinders were all rusted. They had to be rebuilt. And my dad, he's really the hero in this story, because all through this time, he was working with me and my brother. Well, we bought a Cessna 172, and he would spend all his time really maintaining that for us so we could learn how to fly. And also other family issues. And so his hobby and his passion went to the wayside while he was taking care of us. And then after I graduated college, or I guess right before I graduated college, I asked him if I could buy his dream airplane. And with a sigh, he said yes. My fiance at the time, we got married right after we graduated. We rented a motorhome, we moved to the airport, and we spent our honeymoon summer rebuilding it. So obviously with my dad's help, my brother pitched in, my mom, of course, and the mechanic who lived at the field. It took all summer. It was a great experience getting in, like we said, redoing fuel lines, instruments, engines, part of the interior. My wife did a pretty good job in the interior, for the first time interior anyway. Flew around in Seattle for maybe 700 hours, made it all the way up around Alaska. So from Seattle, moved to Indiana, went to grad school. And from there, we could take some trips on the East Coast, so all the way up to New England, all the way down to the Bahamas. So we pretty much been to every corner of the country in the thing, and it's been great. And of course, you can probably see my little kids hopping around in the back of the airplane. They'll fly, and they're great flying with us, so it's a good time. They don't understand that flying takes so much less time than driving. All they know is they have to sit in a noisy, loud airplane when we go flying. And so I think they'll figure it out eventually, but they still have fun, especially when give them a little zero gravity every once in a while. So I'm slower than all of my other V-tail friends, and they tease me about it, but that's okay. Sometimes you'll hear that the V-tail has a tail waggle to it. I've flown in a lot of V-tails, and I don't think that's a particular problem. I mean, compared to the quirks of many of the other airplanes, it's insignificant. But this doesn't have it as bad. It is a little more stable in flight when in the flare, but it's not a big deal. If I were to buy a brand new V-tail, I would be happy with it. I've known a lot of people who think flying is too expensive. They think it's too hard, it's too challenging. It's only for the super brave and the super rich. Or I'm just a guy, right? I own this beautiful airplane, and all it takes is just doing it. Just Google your local airport, local flight school, ask him to take you up on a flight. Go flying, take lessons, earn money so that you can take lessons, or rent while you're figuring out what plane you like best, and then buy a Bonanza.
All right, well, you ready to go fly?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
So on this cold and windy day, we push the aircraft out to go flying.
Clear prop.
Pretty nice on a cold day, starting right up.
Oh yeah.
Right, generator on.
So my little guys back there, they're awesome little co-pilots, but I'm gonna put them on isolate just for
All right, yeah.
All right, keep it idling at about 1,000. Man, this airplane loves the cold. I personally love the sound of the IO 470K. There are bigger engines out there, but just how the exhaust and the engine combination just makes it sound good.
Yeah.
So right now, with a cold day, we're gonna wait for the engine to warm up.
Right. Now do you have, okay, you do have a G4 insight there for your, okay, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, and that is important. On one of the first flights I had with this, I had a fuel injector clog up, and I could see that one cylinder was running quite lean, and it almost burned it up. So I was able to cut power, land, and get it fixed. And I wouldn't have known that
right
without a graphic engine monitor. I'm running the Garmin 300 GPS. It's IFR, but not WAS.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to upgrade soon to get to the ADS-B out, or are you gonna do the wingtip version, or?
I think I'll do the wingtip, or actually the tail strobe when it comes out.
How much is that? It's not too much. Well,
Like
relative.
Yeah, relative.
Yeah.
About $2,000, I think it'll be.
Yeah.
And installing the tail.
Yeah, people think, you know, when you say, oh, that's cheap to do on an airplane like this, you're talking $2,000, you know.
All right, we'll taxi to the end here, since our oil's off the bottom. Do a little warm up and then taxi to 3.5. All right, the winds are gusting at about 30.
Yeah.
But it's almost right down the runway, and the Bonanza does really well with winds, so.
I think it's 25 gusting to 35, what I saw earlier.
One more reason I love the Bonanza, or the Debonair, is that there are planes that are faster, right? You can get a Mooney that's real quick. You can maybe get a Cessna that holds more weight, or a Kid Fox that can take off and land a lot shorter. But you can't get one plane that does them all pretty well.
Yeah.
And the Bonanza does.
Yeah.
I fly into this thing, or I fly into grass strips. I train in a grass strip.
Oh, really?
It's a non-issue in this airplane. Fly up in the mountains, like we said, been all over Alaska and the West, and there's really nothing I haven't been able to do that I wanted to. All right, so right off the end of this runway there's a few fields that run perpendicular to the runway, and a few off to the side that are parallel. So with this strong wind, the engine dies.
Yeah.
Obviously, engine out checklist. Lower the nose, switch fuel tanks, glide down to one of those fields just off the end of the runway. Aero Country traffic, Debonair 6024 Foxtrot, departing 3.5, will depart to the north, Aero Country.
Probably not too many, you look clear, right? Oh, I'm fogging up this thing. Probably not too many other airplanes out flying today, any small ones anyway.
It's their loss.
Got the sky to yourself, well, except for the really big ones.
All right, with this headwind, it'll be pretty quick off the ground.
Oh yeah, crabbing right away.
Man, I love flying. This never gets old.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not going to be too bumpy up here today. It might be because of how much wind there is, but...
Maybe we'll climb to 3,000 feet. We're not in the clouds.
Yep, nice and smooth. You know, I can't, it's maybe, you know, you got the V-tails have that Dutch roll. I mean, it might be a little bit less Dutch rolly, you know. I just from, you know, flying in one the other day. But not so much that it would impair me from wanting to buy a V-tail Bonanza. But, I mean, a Debonair is always a nice airplane.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect for me.
Yeah.
I didn't mention this in the earlier, but I did have to buy it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
It's been perfect for my family, for what we need for our travels around the country, for local Saturday morning $100 hamburgers.
Well, you know, I mean, say you're going to, you know, Dallas to Nashville or something for some kind of family thing or whatever you're doing. You know, traveling with these two kids and your wife, 4 people going up there. You got to buy 4 airline tickets to Nashville round trip. Then you got to get there. You got to get these guys through the security, through all that stuff. I mean, how much of a pain in the butt is that when you can just, it's, you know, 3.5, 4 hours up there in this airplane, you know?
And when you're flying in the airplane, they can unbuckle their seatbelts. They can climb around.
Yep.
I guess we can show some speeds on this thing. So
sure.
Let's go to 2450. I blew through my altitude. How embarrassing.
That's all right.
All right, 2450, and we'll lean it out. And this, usually I lean it out to 13.2 gallons an hour at this setting. and it's a little rich, but gets me where I need to go.
So you're somewhere around 70-75% power. Doing 100 and almost 150 indicated, which would be, you know, probably over 150 true.
Ground speed of only 121 knots, but that makes sense with a...
Wow, yeah, we got 35 knots on the nose or more.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, something like this, you know, so say you're looking to buy an airplane and, you know, your budget is, you know, $100,000. You know, you could buy like a, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you know, Cessna 172 maybe, or maybe you probably get maybe a slightly newer one than that. But, you know, you're going to be doing 120 knots and you're you know, not a whole lot of space and all that. Whereas you buy this one for significantly less money probably, and you're faster and holds more space.
Yeah, I personally love 1950s Bonanzas, the V-tails, and that's in part because right now they're selling for relatively cheap.
Yeah,
I've seen some good ones go for $40,000.
well, I had a 1956 V-tail, and I think I paid $26,000 for it. And I mean, it was basic. It was basic. It had no. I mean, it was, you know, it had no upgrades to it at all. And I think the radio was in place, but that's it. And you know, and I sold it for $26,000 when you know, a couple of years later.
It was faster than any other airplane you could have bought for that much?
Absolutely, it was fast. Absolutely. I mean, I was doing 100. I think I was doing 150 knots in that thing, maybe. I don't remember.
Do you want to do some zero G? You want to do the astronaut? I don't know if you can handle it.
Yes, I can.
All right. All right. Whoa. That woke little Jared up. Well, we can do a steep turns,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
stall, or what would you like to see?
Yeah, we can do let's do a stall.
All right. Stalls in the Bonanza are just like a stall in a 172. So we won't lower the gear and the flaps, but pull power back.
So for those that don't know what a stall is basically when there's not enough wind, air going over the wings for it to fly, so it's basically the airplane drops.
We'll simulate that,
Right.
or we'll actually do it, I guess.
Yeah.
By pulling the power back and raising the nose. And like a bicycle going uphill, the airplane slows down. It increases your angle of attack to the point where that right there was a buzzer because I pulled my throttle out so much and my landing gear isn't down, so the airplane thinks I'm trying to land without my gear. This airplane, obviously the wheels were tracked into the airplane, and if you land without your wheels, you land real short.
Yeah.
So, right now we're at 80 knots, we're slowing down. Hear the stall buzzer, getting down to about 60. You'll feel it shake a little bit, and the nose
There's the
comes
stall.
down. Let the nose fall down, pull it up, power up.
Easy as that.
You recover.
Yep. Most airplanes, unless they just have bad, you know, it depends on what they're designed for. Most of airplanes will pretty much recover on their own. Because the nose will drop on its own, it'll pick up airspeed, and it'll keep going. It is possible to spin an airplane, but you have to work at it. Most airplanes. All right, let's do. Yeah, you can just keep turning around and.
So an accelerated stall would be when you're stalling at a higher speed, but you have still have a greater angle of attack because you're turning.
Right.
So in a steep turn, you'll stall above your normal stall speed of 50 or 60 miles an hour, Can't get it to stall. There you go, little stall buzzer warning there.
You had any close calls in this thing or anything?
So right after the engine rebuild, I was taken off, pretty new in the airplane, and the main seal around the crankshaft blew out.
Oh wow.
Blowing oil out the front of the engine and all over the windshield.
Oh wow.
And so, as a 200-hour pilot just figuring out a high-performance complex airplane, I had to open this little storm window here on the side, and that's how I landed the airplane.
Wow.
In that little grass strip I was training out of.
Wow. Was your engine still producing any power? Or?
It was producing power. No damage, it still had plenty of oil left in it.
Wow.
I just lost enough to coat the windshield.
Uh-huh. That's still kind of scary.
Aero country traffic, Debonair 6024 Foxtrot is on a downwind for 35 Aero country.
All right, here comes the fun part. Landing in 25 to 35 knots of wind.
Bonanza does a pretty good job in wind. It's a heavier airplane. I have about, max gross on this is 3,000 pounds. Empty is about 1,800. So I have 1,200 pounds useful load. And right now we're maybe using half of that.
Gears down, flaps going down, breeze, trim up, fuel, check. Aero country traffic, Debonair 6024 Foxtrot, turning base 35 Aero country.
Alright, with it gusting as much as it is today, we probably won't use any more flaps. That's not a problem.
We're crabbing for sure.
Yeah, a lot of non-pilots are, I found they're afraid of turbulence.
Yeah.
But as a pilot, you don't even notice it.
Well, you understand what it is. It's just different layers of air moving at different speeds and temperatures and all that stuff,
Alright, so gumps. GUMPS is an acronym that us pilots use that it's gas, undercarriage, mixture, propeller.
You're doing 85 and ground speed's 56.
Yeah, I am keeping the speed up since it's so gusty.
Yeah.
Heard the stall buzzer go off a little bit earlier, and we were...
That's a pretty good crosswind now.
Yeah. Gust there, not a problem. Another little gust, not a problem. Whoa! That's got to be my worst landing in like a decade.
It's 35 knots of wind. It's almost a direct crosswind right now. Look at that windsock.
Yeah.
That's look at those leaves going straight across the runway.
That was fun.
Yeah, hey,
Awesome.
Good job. Nice job getting it on the ground. 25 knot crosswind, and this thing's a little fun and gusty.
Daniel, thanks, sir.
It's a pleasure.
It was pretty windy out there, but you did a good job, so.
It was. Can't wait to see that footage.
Yeah, we'll take it out, and let me know when you're flying again. Let's do it.
Certainly.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for watching another episode of Flying Doodles. It's cold, chilly, windy out here. It was pretty fun. But please click that like and subscribe button. We'll send you more of this. And we'll see you on the next one. I'll be traveling along the Gulf Coast of the United States the second half of February. If you have an airplane and want to go fly and make a video, let me know in the link below.